So we know that it's about 5-7 seconds when we can make a first impression. And this is important to master your entrance, whether it's on Zoom during team meeting or if it's somewhere in person. How you show up is very important. So start focusing on these first things that we discuss: posture, straight, and pacing yourself. So this would be first one. The second one, if we don't know personality type of the person we communicating with, or if it's a huge audience and there are different personality type, we can just do mirroring. So we see what this person is doing and we can adjust. We can go slower or faster. We can be leaning more to the person or a little bit away, space that we keep between each other. So mirroring their behavior. If you are in a big room with many people, see that overall energy is. Maybe people are tired, right? Or maybe they're energetic and they're fresh, like in the mornings.
Before we dive back into today's conversation, I want to share something important. This episode includes a paid partnership with BetterHelp, a platform designed to make starting therapy easier. I know from my own journey as a leader and entrepreneur that life can sometimes feel overwhelming. There are seasons where stress, uncertainty, and pressure build up, and you need a safe space to process it all. That's where therapy comes in. Therapy isn't only for people facing clinical challenges. It's a space to reflect, grow, and find better ways to manage stress, relationships, and personal goals. It takes courage to seek help, but it's also one of the smartest investments you can make in your mental and emotional well-being. That's why I'm proud to highlight BetterHelp. With BetterHelp, you simply fill out a short questionnaire and get matched with a credentialed therapist in just a couple of days. If the first match doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch therapists at no extra cost until you find someone who truly connects with you. Inside the platform, you'll also find tools like journaling and group sessions on different topics that can support your growth. And with over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 Trustpilot rating, BetterHelp is a platform you can rely on. So if you feel like you'd benefit from talking to a therapist, visit betterhelp.com/KingDames. That's betterhelp.com/KingDames to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Once again, this is a paid partnership with BetterHelp, and I encourage you to take that first step if you've been thinking about it. Sometimes the best investment you can make is in yourself.
Welcome to the King Dems podcast, where we share the stories of extraordinary people and dissect hot, relevant topics that shape our world. From visionary leaders to trailblazing creatives, we uncover the mindset, strategy, and grit behind greatness. Whether it's business, culture, or personal growth, we ask the real questions. This isn't just conversation, it's transformation. The King Dems podcast. Your next breakthrough starts here.
Music licensing reimagined.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen. You're once again welcome to the Kingdoms podcast and Diary of a CFO. And today I've got with me a VVVIP, Whiten, out of Washington, United States of America, by way of St. Petersburg, Russia. Make welcome, Dr. Tatiana Teppoeva. How are you?
Hi, Demola. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Wow. If you're happy to be here, I think I am happier that you're here. Of course, it's an alignment of interest. I have been getting in on my scientific mode, my empirical mode in recent time. We recently had Dr. Ben Brain from Stanford University speak on the podcast about neuroscience, and we also have the privilege of having you. You're Harvard affiliated, and it seems like recently I've been having people from the Ivy League schools. I think the very last episode was somebody from Oxford University, and next week we have somebody coming from MIT. So I'm blessed. I'm very blessed. Or the founder and CEO of One Nonverbal Ecosystem. The conversation we'll be having today will be centered around AI, which is very close to my heart. I am AI, Adibola Isimeme, and nonverbal intelligence and closing high-ticket deals with trust and influence. So, champions, today on the Kingdoms podcast, we're diving deep into the invisible language that drives leadership, trust, and sales success. Our guest is the brilliant Dr. Tatiana Teppoeva, PhD economist, AI strategist, and founder of One Nonverbal Ecosystem. With over 17 years at Microsoft and Boeing, Tatiana has mastered the intersection of data science, AI, and human behavior. She helps leaders, founders, and sales teams unlock the hidden power of nonverbal intelligence to close high-ticket deals, build influence, and elevate executive presence. Tatiana, it's an honor to have you with us. Welcome to the Kingdoms podcast and Diary of a CFO. Once again, you're welcome, and I hope we are able to do justice to the topics that we have in our hands today. So I think I'm going to start with the audience questions. I did post on LinkedIn for people to ask questions and other social media platforms. So I have picked the top two questions. So the very first question from our audience is, how can leaders use AI to better read and respond to nonverbal signals in high stakes business situations?
Thank you for the question. It's a very current question that we engage more and more with AI. I would say that it depends on what exactly we are trying to do. There are different tools, and I also make suggestions for the companies based on their needs, what tools that would be more appropriate for them. But in general, there are tools that can personalize some of the reach out. There are tools that can help evaluate body language for interview preparation. There are tools that can evaluate conversation. There are tools that can profile your potential buyers, clients, partners, etc. The only thing that I would say that we need to be very cautious and careful what tools we engage with and how we use. And just a couple examples, some personalization tools for emails, for example, created offshores and they are under US jurisdictions here where I am and they follow US regulations, but still they get access to all your emails, incoming, outgoing, all the information for them to be able to serve you. And if data leaks, then potentially all emails will be exposed. So we need to be very careful when we signing up for some kind of services like that, that we understand the risks because passwords, even big companies like Google, Apple, etc., can be leaked. And some happened recently, like a couple months ago, big leak. So it may happen with emails as well. And we need to be ready that this information that we share can be available for bad players. So while there are many tools, please look carefully what they provide and what kind of security they use. Because I looked, some companies don't promise very high level of security. So this is something to be aware. But there are multiple tools that can be used. And another thing that when we use AI tools, we need to understand, for example, if we use profiling for LinkedIn, people posted on LinkedIn their profile to understand their pain points, motivation, what they do in life, what their personality type is. If someone created this profile for them, or they followed particular structure on how to create profile, maybe they even use particular words, then you may not get exactly the personality profile they are. You will get personality of the text that is listed on LinkedIn profile, but not the true human behind it. So this is also something to keep in mind. So if you will be using LinkedIn as your compass on how to communicate with this person, then you can be a little bit off.
Mm. So that reminds me of, personality profiling. Would I say models like the likes of the Myers-Briggs, the 16 personality test? Which ones, are tested or trusted that you can actually vouch for?
Yeah, there's DISC and others that you called. I also use some systems that we have in Russia that are not that popular in US. And all of them are good. I prefer systems that have fewer divisions of personalities, especially when I teach people. For example, I have a training with one of the construction companies next week. I'm not going to teach them all 16 types of mayor's personality typing because it's not realistic to expect from salespeople to identify them. So I prefer to use 6, 7 main personality types. And then depending on what company or people are doing, focus on specific few. Ask me more if interested in this aspect. And another thing that different systems created for different purposes and they uncover. So some look more into behavior, some system look more into emotional angle. So depending on what we are trying to achieve, we may use one system versus another. Sometimes I combine a few to build comprehensive personality profiles.
I think I like that, and given your background in economics, I see how this flows into creating these models because we use a lot of models in economics and we always assume ceteris paribus, all other factors remaining constant. Okay, let's delve into the second question from the audience. What's the biggest mistake sales teams make when trying to build trust and close high ticket deals, and how can frameworks like human signal layer fix it?
From my perspective as a personality profiler and nonverbal communication expert, it's a cookie cutter approach. So when they try to use the same speech or same way they approach, even non-verbally, right? How they communicate, is it one way to every single person? Or if they differentiate, even tone of voice, pacing, gestures, and things like that. So this cookie cutter approach is something that I would challenge. And you ask how we can kind of fix it. It's be more tailored to particular personality type. So if you have opportunity to research who you will be communicating with, it's better to do in advance to understand their pain points, motivation, strengths, weaknesses, because each personality type has both, and be prepared. And also watch the person during the meeting or whatever communication you have. Sometimes we don't have opportunity to prepare in advance. For example, in car sales, someone walks in and you see them first time and you want to personalize your approach. So watch for how they behave, how they talk, what they talk about, and try to adjust.
That is quite interesting. And of course, it still brings me back to the whole ceteris paribus of economic models. We always assume that all of the factors remain constant, but in real life, other factors do not remain constant. Independent variables keep floating and always all over the place. So if I am a personality type A, for example, and I know that I am not the same way all of the time. There are days when I'm happy, there are days when I'm in a mood, there are days when I am depressed, there are days when I am optimistic. But if you catch me on a day when I am not my good self, you would probably dislike me. So when my friends ask me, what's your best food? I always tell them, I don't have a best food. I am a moody foodie because the food that I eat depends on my mood. So like, how do we capture the, variables that always refuse to remain constant, right?
Uh,
Despite the default setting.
So that's why I use different personality profiling systems, because some are based on self-reporting. And exactly like you said, if you are in a particular mood, you will answer questions in a particular way, and they only will reflect your state at that particular moment. But on another day, you are in a different mood, you answer questions completely differently, and it will reflect on a different personality type. Some things may stay, but many may change. However, there are some systems that really are not self-reporting. It's reflecting on how you behave, what your baseline is, and what other things that you are doing, expressing, etc. We usually have 2 or 3 personality types in us. One we are born with, another one we adopted during our lifetime, like is it because of the environment, how we were raised by parents, by culture, all of that. And the third one, sometimes it's pronounced, sometimes it's not very pronounced in people. They may acquire it during working in particular environment or living in particular family situation. So you can see third profile show up only in particular circumstances. So for you would be if you ate particular foods right? To simplify it and got moody, this would be probably your profile showing up more. And it will not be the one that you were born with. It would be the second or the third. The one that you were born with will stay constant, and we can identify it regardless of your current mood. Because your motivations in life, your pain points, things that you care about, they pretty much are constant. And even if you will try to convince me that not, we can do an experiment and we will see that it's true. You may be moody and thinking like, no, I don't care about this that I cared about yesterday. But if it's your baseline for your personality type, you will still, when your mood will get a little bit better, you will still go back to your baseline. So this is how to think about it, like more baseline type and then another one or two layers on top of it.
Wow, you mentioned experiments. I live for experiments. I'm a science guy and I love the empirical method. So, what experiment are we able to conduct on this podcast? And based on your profiling system, what would you say is my personality type?
First, I don't like giving like personality type openly about someone. I prefer to look at different things. So some, as I mentioned, systems require you self-reporting, right? So you would need
Okay.
to answer some questions. The ones that I'm using what is available. So I can use your communication on social media. I can use your behavior right now, or
Okay.
maybe some behaviors that I observed before or after, some facial expression, things like that. But I wouldn't just judge based on 20 minutes of interactions and without asking you specific questions that you may not be comfortable answering here. So
Oh,
let's
wow.
keep it restricted. We can do
You may
experiment,
not
but
feel comfortable answering here. That sounds interesting. That sounds interesting. So I'm trying to find maybe like the most simplistic model that we can adopt, definitely with questions that I would be comfortable answering.
it's not like questions some about some particular intimate area or anything. It
Okay.
just you will give away too much information in
Okay.
general,
I
like
see.
about your
I see.
personality.
Okay. I
And
see. I see.
maybe
I
you
see.
don't want to do it, you know?
I see. I see that. I see that. So I think for me, like the personality profiling that I like the most is the one of the temperaments, right? So you have the sanguines, the choleric, the melancholic, and the phlegmatics, right? So for me, I think I'm a sanguine. I think I'm like a combination of sanguine and choleric. So yes, I like that. It's just four. Simple. I like that. But anything beyond four, it's a stretch. What are your thoughts?
This is a good one of the systems, but it doesn't answer all the questions. So, for example, if you want to sell a car to each of them, how would you change your behavior based on that? Is it enough for you? It may give us some idea on how we can approach, especially for someone like me who knows personality systems, personality profiling systems, and how this particular system aligns to other ones that I'm using more often. But if you know just those four, it probably will be hard for you to customize your speech and behavior to each of those four to get the best of it, right?
So are you saying that the personality test, right, has degrees of accuracy and degrees of dilution? Is that correct?
Depending what you mean by accuracy and dilution, can you tell me more what you have in mind?
So you said the four personality type is not in depth enough to make sales pitch decisions, for example. But if we take maybe something like the 16 personality type, I think that's the Myers-Briggs, right? If I'm correct,
Yes.
that is a more accurate model, right? Deep dive into a person's personality and be able to ascertain a stable pattern in terms of adjusting your relationships, your communication with such a personality.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I don't use Myers system, not much at all. I
Okay.
use other ones. As far as And maybe, saying that this one is better than the other, it's not the goal of our conversation, because again,
Mhm.
they serve different purposes. And
Purposes.
Mayor system has its own applications in particular environments where it's super valuable. But I'm focused more on other ones that are more applicable and easier to apply and use. So what I'm saying that depending on your goal, you may choose one versus another, or combination of a few. In terms of the temperament, choleric and other ones, it gives us some information, but from my perspective, it's not sufficient to do, for example, sales pitch. It's good to understand overall one person versus another, right? What their preferences, but not enough to go deep.
So it means that the end justifies the means in terms of this perspective. So whatever it is your goal is determines the kind of personality profiling that you would have to adopt. Okay. So
Yes.
you have actually built an entire ecosystem around decoding human signals. So how did your journey from Microsoft and lead you into the world of nonverbal communication and AI-driven sales psychology?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the whole story. So I started reading Nietzsche and other philosophers when I was 16. And
Wow.
I had a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Wow, wow.
Yes, and it
This is
was,
this is documented. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. This is documented. I've said this on many other episodes of this podcast. That book was the very first book I ever bought for myself with money that I earned for myself. Two books by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People and The Art of Public Speaking, are the two books I ever bought with my own money. Wow. Once again, it's an honor.
yeah. And I pretty much use it as a manual. I was fascinated what motivates people, how they behave, why they behave the way they do. Sometimes they behave like, wow. And sometimes you think like, "Oh, why this person did it, right? And how we can actually change thinking and behavior that we have, as well as others people. So I was really interested in psychology, but at that time in Russia, it was not well-paying profession, and I'm also a practical person and like numbers, so I decided to go into economics and study it. And then I went into PhD. I did statistics, and I taught grad and postgraduate students. So I worked with people. I watched my students. I tried to make statistics and other subjects that I taught uh, easy for them to understand, even though oftentimes it's not. Right? Statistics for many people seems to be hard. And after 6 years, I wanted to apply my knowledge. And it's coincided with my immigration to the United States, which was 19 years ago. And I decided to completely switch from academia to business. And this was my first switch in my career. So when I arrived to the United States, I started pretty much from scratch because I didn't have experience in business. My English was not that great. So I started a job for new graduates with low pay and things like that. And I built my career from there in the United States. And at Boeing, I was responsible for the whole customer satisfaction process. So again, I was thinking about psychology. I was thinking how to make customers better, how we can analyze customer feedback and things like that. And later in Microsoft, I worked on 4 or 5 different teams, and I was touching people one way or another. All the products, whether I was on Azure, forecasting dark fiber, or if it was about hardware, or if it was about Xbox support strategy. Whatever topic I worked on, I always had people on my mind. So we are building products, we providing services for people, and people provide feedback to us, and we can see like how they thinking, why they thinking that way, how can we make them happier. So this pretty much approach to people and thinking was with me all the time. I also had mentees at Microsoft, so I worked with people one-on-one. And eventually I went to Toastmasters and got my distinguished Toastmaster status. It was also hard work and a lot working with people, understanding why we say or do things this way and not another. But Toastmasters also led me into this area of interest about nonverbal communication and personality profiling. And when I thought like, oh, I had enough of my corporate career. I want to do something for people myself now. Then I started thinking about having my own company. And this is what I'm working and building on right now. And happy to provide help to people. And eventually I feel like it's when I was 16, right, and started reading those books. And now I can actually apply all the knowledge that I have accumulated over the years, reading so many books and having so much experience. I can now apply it in real life.
Wow, it's a whole lot to unpack. You mentioned the age of 16 and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I remember when I was 16 years old, had the privilege of reading the whole of the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation. I was also in Bible school. I think I graduated maybe around 17. And also I was reading the work of ancient Greek philosophers, the likes of Aristotle, Plato. It's interesting that this is well documented on this podcast. I've said this a lot on the podcast. And also I read books of Nobel laureates, contemporary philosophers. I tell the younger generation, it's important that you read. My mom used to say a lot, readers are leaders, and I understand better now. I'm 33 years old now, and I understand better that when you load yourself with information, relevant information as a younger person, goes on to make you resourceful and relevant in the future, especially in the global landscape. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to speak with the brilliant minds of my own time. At 16, reading Aristotle, reading Immanuel Kant, reading Adam Smith, reading John Locke, reading uh, this guy, even Winston Churchill. A lot of people do not realize Winston Churchill won a Nobel Prize for Literature. Uh, there's a guy who wrote the book Why I'm Not a Christian. I'm trying to remember him, Bertrand Russell, right? Reading these very brilliant minds. I used to wish that I wish I could have a conversation with these, philosophers, with these, brilliant minds. But now I'm privileged, to host two podcasts that are globally ranked. As at the time of our conversation, the Kingdoms podcast is ranked global top 2.5%. Diary of a CFO ranked global top 5%. And I have the privilege to speak with persons like yourself who have gone to the best schools in the world, have the highest educational qualifications, and we can dissect important topics. But it starts with building your mind. And yes, message to the younger generation, ensure to build your mind. Because the most important thing is your mindset. You build your mindset, next you build your skill set, and then you get the right tool set. And you are a well-rounded professional or entrepreneur. Coming back to, the science behind human signals, a lot of leaders underestimate how much communication happens beyond words. What are the most powerful nonverbal signals that professionals and entrepreneurs should become aware of in high stake settings?
Sure. So one thing we can be aware of our gestures. So there are some repetitive gestures. So if I do this thing one time or couple times during our talk, then it's okay. But if I start doing it every 30 seconds or so, then you will think like, what's wrong with Tatiana, right? And different people have different gestures. Some may have something like that. Some may be scratching. And in high stakes, especially if we are under stress, we stop noticing it. People who come to me and we do assessment, I show them what they are doing. They like, wow, I've never knew that I have never known that I've been doing something like that. So it's a surprise for them because when under stress in high stakes situations, we don't pay attention. It's subconscious. So it's very important to notice it, and awareness is already a big thing. So adapters is one thing to be aware of and paying attention to. Another one is openness. So if we are open to someone and we communicate, people see us open to the conversation to them versus something. It's not necessarily crossed arms. It can be just a posture. It can be angle. It can be some other things that we do to not show our openness or show the opposite, that we are close to the discussion. And people read from us. Even if I say, I'm so happy to see you here today, and then I'm all somewhere else, you will not believe me, right? Or if I'm on my phone, like, hi, yeah, it's how you doing? So you will see that my attention is not with you. So this is another thing, like show openness and be there, be present. And the third one, I would say it's a space. So if we are like sitting like that, or if we are very tight and making ourselves small, or if we take a reasonable amount of space and show our presence there. So those three things, I would say, the most important. And just give you one example about repetitive gestures, adapters that I mentioned as a first point. I recently made a post on LinkedIn about one person who is in marketing strategy. She is smart and brilliant. And I was watching her educational / promo video, and it was small circle and I only could see her upper body. Presentation was 45 minutes long. Information was great, but her performance was not that great because she made 379 repetitive gestures during this 45-minute presentation. Can you imagine
Wow,
379?
that is massive.
Yes, and it was all touching necklace, touching face in different places, touching eyeglasses, 79.
Let me touch my eyeglasses now, but not 371 times.
I don't count, and don't always pay attention to things. But if I think that this could be a good case to make people aware, then I do it. And by the way, I'm reaching out to these persons that I mentioned to offer them my help. Because again, most likely, if I tell her what she has done, she will not believe me. But if we watch her recording, she will start recognizing. If when I point it out, she will start recognizing and will say like, my goodness, I didn't know I was doing it. So this is what I see most frequently with my clients.
So now I'm quite curious. How do you identify these patterns? Do you use AI or is it human observation?
It depends. If we have many phone calls, many emails, then of course I will use AI to speed it up and simplify it for us. But AI cannot do everything. It can identify that there was pause or something like that, but it cannot necessarily say why. So if we need to look into root cause or something like that, then I would need to interpret it and go into context. For example, I had a client coach. Coach was my client, and her ongoing client, her client, quit. So she asked me to help her potentially identify why it happened. And we review it with her recording. And AI could identify maybe pauses, but not the context. So what happened, the coach went to the topic that was very sensitive for the client. And client nonverbal showed that she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't say anything, but nonverbal signs were that this was not the topic she wanted to go deeper. My client, the coach, misinterpreted it as an interest. So she did the opposite. She went deeper into the topic. And her client was uncomfortable. She didn't enjoy this conversation and she quit. So the coach, my client, lost her ongoing client. And AI wouldn't be able us to identify the sensitivity and all those nuances. So on some high level, it's great to use AI, but in many cases, you need to apply your own knowledge and experience. In terms of the example I gave you with 379, I just counted it because it was just one off thing. I usually don't count people's gestures, not the point how many, but she was doing it so much. And plus, I don't know what she did with her lower body because it was not in the circle of the video recording. So maybe there were many more other gestures that she did. So it was just a good example to show people to pay attention to the gestures and things they do. So, and many people after that say that, oh, Tatiana, you just told me about that. Now I'm being very careful, like, and shy about my own performance. Is it the same with you? Are you now being cautious about how you show up?
Yeah, I think it's very important to be self-aware, right? And this is something I've always spoken about. I'm really grateful that I have a podcast that people can always go back to and talk about. I've spoken with Dr. Joey Drolshagen. He's the, would I say, I don't want to call it founder, the inventor of the SMT approach, the subconscious mind training approach. I've also spoken to another guy called Charlie. I've forgotten his last name. He calls himself the Chief Consciousness Officer, right? So these are topics that are very close to my heart. And for me, people that know me know that I'm a very self-aware person. And I think self-awareness is very important for growth. I pride myself in not being a perfect person or being a person who strives for excellence. I feel that perfection is fake, right? When you put yourself out as a perfect person, you are not relatable. But when you put yourself out as a person who strives for excellence, people can relate to you, be open to feedback, be open to correction, right? And take everything as a feedback loop to ensure that you improve at whatever it is that you are doing, right? So being self-aware for me, I think is like a default setting. I think for a lot of people, they have a blurry line between being self-aware and being shy, right? If you are not confident in yourself, if you are not the kind of person that is open to making mistakes and making errors, being self-aware can ruin your confidence or your effectiveness or efficiency. I think the factor here is fear, right? Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every one of us makes mistakes, right? And I think also nature versus nurture conversation comes here, right? Very early in life, I failed mathematics, at the O level, that is the entrance exams into university. I failed it twice before I got it right the third time. But now today, I'm a first degree in economics, I'm a chartered accountant, I have an MBA, I've lectured, professional accountants, I've worked with the global big four accounting firms, number 2 and number 4 in the world. So nobody will say this guy does not understand numbers. But if only you knew that at the age of 16, 17, I was struggling with mathematics, in exams, right? So that early introduction to the concept of failing and trying again, I think helped me as a person, and also the Christian faith. My favorite scripture is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. So if you believe that you can do all things, if you believe in yourself and believe in your God, I don't think you should be shy or be afraid. And even very well respected leaders across the world like Nelson Mandela said, if we try, we may fail, but if we don't, we have failed. So in life, you just need to keep trying. Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, I heard he had 10,000 iterations before he got it right. So if a genius like Thomas Edison tried 10,000 times not to keep trying, right? So people, I think there's a need for a reorientation in this, age and time. People want to come off as being perfect, and we see this on social media, Instagram, TikTok. People put their best face out there and try to live like life is perfect for them there, but there's nobody that has a perfect life. Tell people, person you're admiring on social media does not have a better life than you. They only probably have a better camera and better locations for videos and pictures than yourself. So But, coming back to the whole human signaling, and AI, you have actually patented AI framework that decode patterns in behavior and systems, right? And how can AI complement, and not replace the unique human art of reading body language, tone, and presence?
Yeah, and I will just add on your previous comment, if you don't mind. We are not
Absolutely.
trying to reach perfection, right? We
Mhm.
trying to reach our authenticity and
I love that. I love that word. God bless you.
get rid of some noise, right? So if we touch hair or face or something, it's totally okay. But if
Mhm.
I do it 370 times, it's not that great, right? Also, we often miss this element. I usually use it as a focus of my work with the client. Each of us has already brilliant things that we have. Our what we can call like perfect, for example, but it's just authentic way we communicate with nonverbal signals that we are sending and things like that. So for each client, I highlight what they're already doing well because each of us does. And many of us also not aware about those beautiful things that we are doing and that we can leverage to our advantage. So this
Mhm.
also important awareness, like what am I great at? What I can use more of? And then I call it fine tuning things that don't serve us well. Some bad habits that we accumulated, some things we do under stress, and things like that. So I call it fine tuning, and I totally for authenticity. I don't support like we need to be all robots and do exactly as everyone else. I don't
Mhm.
think this is great. We all so unique, and this is the strength of human that we are unique. As far as
Absolutely.
switching to AI, AI is not at the point where it can do everything for us. If it will be at some point, that's great. Okay, let's do everything for us. So, as I mentioned before, I use it to speed up things, to look at things quickly, but then to go into deep analysis, like what exactly the root cause behind it, what is the motivation, what other things. AI often misses. Another example I can give you: there is a shoe company, and they have a lot of advertisements they make for the shoes. And some of this advertisement is not great. And I have a couple posts about that on my LinkedIn. So if I share those images with AI says that they're great in general. Sometimes it highlights
Mhm.
something. But if I look with my human eye, I see issues with it and how not shoes highlighted, but some other things. For example, body parts of the human that are not a subject of this advertisement at all. So wrong emphasis or unnatural poses for the human. You look at this advertisement, they see like something is wrong. And when you start analyzing, it's artificial poses. So AI cannot identify all of that very well yet.
Mhm.
So I definitely use it when I can, but at this point, we need experts to help it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I keep saying this about AI, given the fact that I'm very fond of AI. I am AI myself. I say AI is meant to be an assistant, right? So AI is as powerful as the mind of the human who is using it, right? And we are in the age of the height of artificial intelligence. But unfortunately, we're also in the age of the height of human foolishness. So it's crazy how 20, 30 years ago, if you needed information, you needed to dig into a library, need to dig into, restricted resources, right? But now information is readily available and widely available. But we still have people asking the most stupid questions ever in human history. So we need to develop our minds first, right? And of course, it's mindset, skill set before the tool set. AI is just a tool set. And I think people need to really, really get it right. Coming to the high ticket sales and buyer profiling, your buyer match, trademark tool and human signal layer also trademark. Those frameworks, they are game changers. Can you break down how aligning a buyer's personality and nonverbal cues can shift the outcome of a multi-million dollar deal?
Definitely. I like combining them both if it's appropriate for the situation that people reach out to me with. So personality layer, it's when we think about decision style of the person, what pain points they care about, what motivations they have in life, and things like that. So we can understand if it's a data-driven person, is it a visionary, is it relation-based personality type or some other one. So we can then target our messaging the way that they can understand. And in simple words, we can say, for example, if you speak only English, but I talk with you in Russian, you will not understand me, even if my idea, proposal, or product I'm selling to you is great, right? We will not be on the same page. But
Language barrier.
if I speak your language, then I can deliver this information. The same with personality types. If it's a data-driven person, but I'm trying to tell them, oh, just imagine how you feel using this, right? They don't care that much how they feel. They want to know efficiency. They want to know KPI. And other things. So we will be speaking different languages. But if I give them what they want to hear in terms of what they understand, the language they understand, then we both win. I able to deliver my message, they hear me, we save time, and hopefully I get them what they want. And another layer on top of personality layer is a signal layer. And it's especially important when it's in-person interaction. For example, car sales dealership, or maybe a high ticket consulting, or some other expensive, maybe a hotel chain or something like that. When your customer walks in and you don't have much information about them, about their personality type, you didn't have time to do research, maybe you didn't have their name, right? Just walked in. And by looking how they behave, what they're saying, the way they use their nonverbal, you can evaluate relatively quickly and make a guess what would be most two personality types. And this is what I teach of the person. And based on that, you tailor your communication again to speak on the same language they understand, not on our own. And this is not only in business, but even in our personal lives. Sometimes we have all best intentions and we put all best effort into saying something, sharing, that we are so eager to deliver it. And we know ourselves and we try to deliver the message in the best way we can understand. And we think like all the effort I put into this, how I'm explaining, how I'm delivering, it's great for us. But this is a different person and they may be interested in different things and they may have a different language. And if we don't adapt our messaging, even if it's great, it may not land. So in high stakes, it's very important because tailoring your messaging to a particular customer needs is super important and it's a win-win situation.
Wow. So, talking about executive presence, you've actually trained executives on the executive presence code. It's interesting, you have a lot of trademarks. In practical terms, how can a leader walk into a room and instantly command authority, trust, credibility, respect without even saying a word?
Great question. And we talked about a few points already, but let me bring it up again. So first would be posture and space. So being open to the audience, being straight, standing or moving in a straight way, not, shoulders down or any angle or any of that. Space, taking appropriate space, not too much, not too little, with gestures and body positioning and how we sit, depending if we're standing or sitting. Then also how much we have all of this, right? What kind of gestures? So paying attention to what we are sending out there and how much of it. And also keeping eye contact. Eye contact is very important to make sure that we communicate with the person and not with someone else, worse with our phone, right? So Those three areas would be the most powerful to address first. And then there are other things to add on top of it.
Wow. So when it comes to these postures, I'm glad we had a conversation about the differences between, the first world countries, the third world countries, because are different across the world, and different, postures mean different things in different cultures. So you have been privileged to work globally and speak multiple languages, right? You are a step ahead of me. I've only been privileged to work globally, but I can't claim to be a master of multiple, globally relevant languages. How does cultural difference shape nonverbal communication, and what universal signals can professionals rely on, anywhere and everywhere in the world?
Yes, this is a great question. And even uh, probably we heard cases about politicians traveling to different areas and
Hmm.
making mistakes
Hmm.
in how they dress or what they say. So it's very
Even
important.
the gestures. I'll give an example. So I think in Islamic cultures, males are not meant to have handshakes with females, and this has happened many times, even in my presence. And it feels sort of awkward when a female from the Western culture is trying to shake the hand of a respected, Islamic or Arabic figure. They try to politely decline. It's
Yeah.
it's awkward.
Yes. So definitely if we have international audience or if we travel somewhere specifically, we need to educate ourselves on some of the habits and cultural things that this particular area uses or has, right? In general, if we are not aware, we just can be mindful. For example, color, white can be birth color or can be death color, depending on where we are.
Hmm.
Black is treated as different as well. So if even we choose wrong color, we are sending a wrong message, maybe disrespect, right? So not appropriate for the situation, and we will look foolish and we will not pay respect to the environment where we are. Also, personal space. In some areas, very little personal space will be like, oh, intrusion into someone's space. In other cultures, it can be appropriate. And if you are too far, they say, oh, this person doesn't want to be too close to me. What's going on? They want to be far away. Eye contact. In some cultures, it's encouraged to have eye
Hmm.
contact. In others, it's too much. It's
It's rude.
so those nuances we need to educate ourselves on. But there are some universal things that we can apply. For example, genuine smile, right? It's universal.
The
Um,
smile never goes out of fashion.
Right. And then some gestures that are universal when we soothe ourselves or when we are leaning towards someone, showing our interest, or the opposite. If we don't want to be involved, we lean in an opposite direction. There are different things that are different, and there are some other ones that are universal. So it's good to be aware of both, especially if we communicate with international audiences.
Interesting. That speaks to a philosophy that I always preach, that the capacity of a person is dependent on a couple of E's. And what are the E's? Your education, your exposure, your enlightenment, and your experience. So that forms your capacity to function as a person. And speaking of functioning as a person, something I very much appreciate about your journey is your personal resilience and your evolution over time, and it has spoken to your career growth and development. So transitioning from the academia to the corporate world like Boeing, Microsoft, and going on to entrepreneurship, which in my opinion is the ultimate, is nothing short of remarkable. So what mindset shifts allowed you to reinvent yourself at each stage and to build influence in male dominated industry?
A great question. And you said a key word at the beginning that it's evolution. So
Mhm.
I don't call it reinvention, it's an evolution.
Mhm.
because it's just one path that I had. I told you about my switch in career after academia. I have a switch recently from corporate to my own business. So it's all driven by my personal curiosity, learning, and trying to achieve goals. I like achieving goals. In academia, for example, I was interested in getting expertise and credibility. At Boeing, I received practice, systems, and customer experience that I worked in. At Microsoft, I gained visibility and presence that led to some influence. And now I have ownership and self-validation that I can do things on my own, and also learning a lot of self-marketing, which is very hard for me.
Mhm.
So it's an evolution for me, and it's quite natural. And I am glad that I've done those decisions that many people didn't approve at the time. And also leaving Microsoft, for example, or switching from academia. Many people expected me to teach in US, but I'm glad that I did what I felt was right path for me, because I'm truly enjoying the journey.
I think you just reminded me of something that I posted on LinkedIn recently, and it's talking about, you doing your thing without people's permissions, right? So a lot of times people want to put you in a box, but you don't have to stay in that box. You need to discover yourself. So there's a guy called Justin Walsh. He posted on LinkedIn quite a long post, but the image he posted says, and I quote, "Stop asking for permission to build the life you want. Your family will tell you no. Your friends will tell you no. The corporate machine will tell you no. Go build it anyway." And I jumped on this and I said this powerful reminder: if you keep waiting for approval, you wait forever. Family, friends, and the corporate system often say no, not because they see your limits, but because they can't see your vision. The greatest builders, entrepreneurs, and leaders all had to face that no before creating their yes. Stop seeking permission, start building proof. Who else here is building something the world once told them was too risky? So I'd love for you to speak to that. You know, People see limitations where builders like yourself and myself see opportunities and potentials. Until the potentials become credentials, they don't believe. What are your thoughts on, this situation?
It can be a tough situation for someone, and also for me. I've been contemplating for a year before I made the decision to leave. It's my own thinking process, like, oh, this is a stable job, great company, great salary, and things like that. So my own thinking, and plus people around me. Oh, how my former coworkers will be looking at me. And I'm sure that many people like watching me right now and thinking, is she's going to be successful or one of those failures? What is the statistics for small businesses to fail, right? And individuals to fail. But I like the phrase I learned from someone: we either win or we learn. So there is no failure. And whatever experience I'm getting, it will be my learning experience. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, many of successful small businesses, they failed at the beginning. They learned and they built something better.
Mm-hmm.
And many failed multiple times before they
Absolutely.
built something successful. So it's about risk aversion. Are you ready to take the risk to pursue your passion? For me, it was worth it. For me, it was worth it to risk and potentially gain nothing except the experience, my learnings, but it was worth for me. And for many people, other things take over and they don't make this step. So it's very individual decision. But research shows that at the end of our lives, people regret the most what? That they haven't tried something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they haven't done this and they haven't done that. So I don't want to be one of those people that regret that I haven't tried something because I'm curiosity driven. So for me, I will better risk and try. And in my case, maybe it's a little bit easy because if I want, I can go back to data science and AI. Even during last moment, I had Meta reached out to me 4 times asking me if I would be willing to interview. So I kind of have a plan B if it doesn't work, but I'm not even considering it. But on psychological level, some people may say, Tatiana, it's easy for you because you have education, you have experience, and
Absolutely.
if you want, you can go back. And I understand that, but at the same time, when I switch from academia in Russia to working in US in business as someone who just graduated for very low salary, very low, even though by that time I already had PhD and 6 years of teaching at universities, I was ready to do, this shift, go down and start from scratch again and raise later again. So
The
it's all
sacrifice.
personal decisions, what we want to sacrifice and what we are driven by. And again, talking about personalities, right? Personality types. My personality type prefers to risk and
Mhm.
follow desires and wishes in life and achieve goals. So I'm goal oriented. So right now I'm working on my business. I'm trying to help people and I'm sure I can do it, but I lacking all the knowledge that to be successful in a big scale. So I'm putting a lot of effort into learning how marketing works, how funnels work, how to build my own website, how to edit my own videos. And it's so fascinating. All of it, it's the whole industry behind it. So I'm
Absolutely.
very interested learning it.
Wow. I'm smiling because, I see a lot of similarities between yourself and myself. I don't have a PhD in economics, but I do have a BSc in economics, right? And delving from that space into accounting, now into podcasting. And I just recently discovered that it's clear that I am actually a journalist. I'm different from the rest of the podcasters. But let's not deceive ourselves. In just the very, very small span of time that I've been in this space, I have projected into the global rankings. I look at the people who share the similar global rankings with me. They started maybe minimum of 3 years before me, but we understand how to follow the data points, right? And how to use data-driven decisions to improve our businesses. Coming into the media space, learning how to edit videos, thumbnails, you get it over time. When you start, people laugh at you, oh, you're doing this, you gotta take it. It's a feedback loop, and also understanding, the marketing funnels, even when it comes to hiring people, right? One very big lesson I learned about hiring people is you need to always focus on the mindset first, not the skill set, right? And always ensure that you hire A plus individuals. A individuals tend to employ B individuals, and B's employ C's, C's employ D's. That's not right. You should always seek to hire people who are smarter than you in that subject area, in the subject matter that you are trying to employ them. But essentially, the mindset is the first thing. If they have the right mindset, then you can evaluate the skill set and, of course, provide them with the right tool sets to execute, the job. And also reading books like Rocket Fuel made me discover that persons like myself and yourself, we are visionaries, but visionaries don't know everything. We need integrators. Visionaries have the big picture thinking, the strategic thinking, but you need people who are excellent at execution to carry that vision and make it executed, and then you have that synergy of individuals and build a really good business. And it's always good to seek help. It's always good to seek help, and it will amaze you how willing people are to give you their time. Yeah, and people are not really willing to give money, but when it comes to time and advice, it's crazy how much people are always willing to give it. We don't get because we don't ask. And over time, you only just get better and better and better. And for me, I wish you the very, very best. And of course, I'm always here, to support the business because I know the pains of having to have sleepless nights, building systems, building products, building services, building automations. It is crazy. But I think the risk, right, is well worth the reward because I once heard it somewhere that the shame of not taking the risk, right, in the end is greater than the shame of what people would say at the time that you were just taking the risk.
Yes, and if you don't mind, I want to add about hiring employees. I just recently hired someone part-time.
Uh-huh.
I think also important element and to see potential in someone.
Mm-hmm.
Because they may not have all the skills and be smarter than you at the
Absolutely.
moment, but they can grow into this person. So if you realize
Absolutely.
potential and give them seeds, soil, and water to grow,
Uh-huh.
then
Uh-huh.
they become smarter and more skilled in whatever area they're working on. And another thing that I wanted to highlight that you actually, when you talked about hiring different people, visionaries or executors, right, and things like that, it's personality profiling. So we know that someone is a visionary. It's a personality type. It's their core. And another one is executor. And they will never be replaced by each other because it's
Mhm.
their core personality type. So thank you for mentioning it. This is
Right.
profiling in action, another application.
Wow, so I am indirectly profiled to the profiler. That's interesting. I think it was easy anyways. I don't have to be a genius to identify somebody who shares, that similar profile as myself. The real recognize the real, and it's great when you see or you get to meet great minds that share your personality type. It's would I say it's refreshing. I'm not the kind of person who seeks validation, but in the end, I'm still a human being, right? And you feel validated where you meet another human being who is, on the same wavelength as yourself in this world. So it actually goes out to show you that you're not crazy, you're not mad, you're not mentally ill. There's a space for people like us in the world. And the interesting thing is, successful people are people that take risks in the end. Successful people are people that take risks. It's crazy how people regret at the end of their lives. The most common word on people's deathbeds is regret. I regret I did not try this. I regret. Don't want to be that person who goes out to regret. Never. Not me. Not me. So it's interesting, and I hope that we are also able to inspire people across the world, inspire the next generation, even after we are long gone. Conversations like this can inspire people that if these, set of individuals were able to take risks and able to look into their potentials and execute their potentials, I can do it as well. I love what you said about potentials. And I always say this, I look into people's potentials, right? When people are younger, you judge based on your potentials. As you grow older, you judge based on credentials. Potentials are what eventually lead to credentials. And it still comes back to the whole mindset game, right? If a person has the right mindset, it actually forms their potential. Of course, the mind is the most powerful tool. The mind is what fuels whatever it is that you're able to achieve in your lifetime. There are a lot of people with fantastic skill sets, right? But their mindset is rubbish. And it took me a very, very painful process to realize it. Then, that rather get somebody with the right mindset and train them, because skill set you can train, mindset you cannot train.
I think you can if the person is open and willing.
Willing, only if they're willing. You can only take a horse to the stream. You cannot force it to drink. So in the end, it's still a mindset, because being teachable is a mindset on its own.
I think we can put it that it's easier to train skill set than changing
Yes.
mindset.
Yeah,
Everything.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you 100%. This is the stuff that, conversations between great minds is made of. We agree to disagree, we disagree to agree, and we achieve common grounds, and we educate ourselves. So I very much love that. And yeah, I have learned, from what you just said, very, very key, right? It's not impossible to train mindset. It's just dependent on one variable, which is the willingness, right? And willingness can help you, switch your mindset. But skill sets, very easy to train, right? And with the right mindset, you have an accelerated, training with a skill set, just like when you're training your AI. AI models, it's crazy what these LLMs can do when you train them. The learning curve is highly accelerated. And of course, the tool sets. I think tool sets are like the easiest part of the equation. Bringing
Yeah, but
AI tools.
There are some skills that also takes time to polish if it's
Yeah,
something very specific, maybe
technical,
some
complex.
surgeon work.
Mhm.
So I'm sure there are many professions where it's not easy to replicate someone's skills easily.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Because, a lot of skill sets take years to train. And I think that's where the bottleneck comes in, because the people with the skill set probably have a very poor mindset, and then you're stuck. So how do you navigate that balance? Because it's something I've also had to navigate as an entrepreneur. You're stuck with, people that have the skill set, but a very poor mindset, but you are forced to work with them because the people with the right mindset don't have the skill set. So how have you been able to navigate that?
In life in general or in my current
Yeah, yeah, in business.
in business, I think we attract similar people. So
Wow.
I've been going through this evolution process, self-improvement, self-development from early ages when I started reading philosophers and trying to understand other people's behavior and my own. And I still work on that. Things evolve in life, events happen, I change something like bad habits, I acquire new bad habits or new thinking patterns. So I constantly work on myself and I attract people who are open to that. We didn't talk today about neurographics, but this is another area. This is algorithmic drawing where we work with conscious and subconscious. If people are open and willing to do it, I use neurographics to change neural pathways, like maybe
Mm,
unhealthy way of thinking about something, to replace it with new approaches, with new ways of thinking. I applied to myself. It helped me a
wow.
lot.
How
And
does
it
that work?
so when we work on a particular topic and the particular way we draw and rounding, and there is particular algorithm that consists of 8 steps. So you follow it, and I'm a certified instructor and supervisor of it. This method
Interesting.
has been for 10 years. So it's getting traction in US right now, but it's from Russia. So it's most popular over there, but it's in tens of countries right now. We start looking at alternative approaches, why we found ourselves here or there, why we think this way. So the particular way we approach our mind, we start building new neural pathways. And with our drawing, with hand, it's all connected. Hand and brain, how we think, we rewire. We rewire our brain. Sometimes even one drawing already gives results. Sometimes you need 20. So it really depends on the person, on the problem, how it changes, like how many limiting beliefs they have on this topic and things like that. But I saw amazing results. So it's pretty much in simple words, rewiring neural pathways through drawing.
Wiring on your pathways through drawing. Now I'm curious about what the eight step process is and practical examples of problems that can be solved. So let's take addiction, for example. I think that's quite popular in popular culture in the modern world. Is it possible to use neurographics, right, to help people that are stuck with an addiction problem solve that problem of their addiction or whatever attitude or behavioral pattern problems that they have? And what are these 8 steps in the process?
So 8 steps, it's not like 12 steps in another program. It's coming up with a theme, writing words to activate neurons. Then we have composition step when we use particular algorithm idea for to address particular topic. Then we do rounding. Then we do neurographing. Then we add color, then we have field lights, fixation figure, then we add style to that, and then we finish with checking on our topic theme again, if it change during our process or if it stays the same. So steps are not that I would say important until you really start drawing. It's just steps of the drawing itself. What would be maybe more interesting is to show you, like I didn't have many walks
Please,
here. I
please,
didn't
please.
think we will be talking about this, but This is example of neurographics drawing. So you see those roundings, those lines, particular shape. So this is an idea. So I don't have handy here at the moment to show you more, but
I think we need to schedule a part 2 for geographics on its own. It seems like
yeah,
a really interesting topic.
we can. I have a few videos on YouTube, and I do a free masterclass once a month if people are interested to try. And I'm right now working on putting out the course on relationship healing using neurographics. I
Oh, wow.
repaired relationship with someone who was very dear to my heart, but we didn't have good relationship in 5 drawings. And it's been about a year or more since then, and our relationship just getting better and better. People who around me witnessed that, and they were amazed. And now I'm working on another relationship. But
Wow.
going to your question, we can work on different problems or different goals. But again, person needs to be open and willing to do the work, because I'm not rewiring someone else's brain anyhow, right? They do it. I just guide them using particular approach, algorithm, my experience, right kind of questions, guiding them in the direction towards their goal. Another thing that I'm not taking on areas that are supposed to be licensed. So if it's a mental health, I'm not taking on people with mental health until they have their professional who is helping them with that, and I complement it. We work together. So because I'm not registered LMHC in US or something like that, so legally I'm not allowed to treat particular mental illnesses or diseases. But I had one client, for example, we worked on relationship with her daughter, teenage daughter. And during our sessions with her, I had some individual sessions with her. We uncovered that she also had some problems in relationship with her mom. So I worked with her on this topic as well. And later, she reported to me that her tumor, 8 centimeters long, got down to a pea size and then disappeared completely.
Wow.
She was not undergoing any other treatment. If I knew that she had a tumor, and I wouldn't take her to heal her tumor, because I'm not a medical professional.
Mhm.
But I even didn't know that she had it. So sometimes we talk about psychosomatic, when our particular way of thinking, behaving, cause us to feel, to have symptoms and some issues from medical perspective. So this is potentially what happened with her. But again, I'm only addressing, for example, if someone is afraid to go public, like myself. Like I don't like showing up and speaking to many people and things like that. So I'm working on that. And I'm using neurographics as one of the approaches to overcome whatever limiting beliefs I have. I mentioned that I use it for relationship, for myself and for other people, and even building a course. So you can address very many different things. So for example, if you have desires, how to achieve those desires or goals faster and more efficiently, how to identify what is on the way between you and whatever or whoever. So there are so many different topics. I just don't get into areas that I need to have license for to be able to touch on.
Absolutely. It's essential that you have the right credentials and, of course, the right license for you to practice certain divisions, especially when it comes to health or mental health related topics. And what a great way to segue into the fact that this podcast is proudly sponsored by BetterHelp. So BetterHelp is the world's leading online therapy tool. I'd like to get your thoughts on the effectiveness, right, and the relevance of therapy in the role of helping people's mental health and overall well-being.
Well, I definitely appreciate its value. I think it's helpful. I think important is to find right fit.
Yeah,
Make sure that there is a right fit between the client and whoever is providing services. Because if it's there, it's more efficient. It amplifies the results. So this is again a human factor, right? So if someone is very data driven, but another person is just aspirational and they don't care about numbers, it's much harder for them to find common ground, even if they use particular approach just on a human level. But if you can relate much better and understand another person, then you can get the message across much more efficiently. So I think this element is important. That's why oftentimes I see that a person went to one therapist and something didn't work. They went to another, something didn't work. And then eventually they found the bomb. So sometimes it takes a few tries to find that, but I definitely see the benefit. And I saw people who solved multiple questions and issues that they had with the help of the therapy. And I feel like after pandemic, we need more of that, not less.
Wow, interesting. And I love what you talked about getting the right fit. And that's one thing I really appreciate about BetterHelp. It helps you to be able to connect with the right fit. If the first person you match with doesn't feel like a right fit, you can always switch therapists on the app from the comfort of your device, right? Until you get another one. So it's less stressful than having to go to physical locations to, try therapies until you get the right one. But from the comfort of your device, you can just, keep typing and switch. And of course, I think I appreciate something about the platform. They have journaling tools, they have group sessions. These options actually help with your mental health journey and of course your healing from any mental health related conditions. So I'm really grateful to be partnering with such well-being brand, and I hope for impact with this partnership that we have. So coming back to the future of sales and leadership with AI, looking into the future, right, into the not too distant future, looking ahead into say the next 5 to 10 years, how do you see AI reshaping leadership and trust in sales processes, and where should forward-thinking professionals and entrepreneurs focus their strategy?
It's hard to envision what will happen in 5, 10 years, right? When I was at Microsoft and needed to build forecast for dark fiber 20 years from that day, everything is developing so quickly, so it's very hard to do.
Rapid.
But if I just guess based on what I'm seeing and what I know, right now we use AI to help us. In 5 years, I think it will be more integrated. And it maybe will be equal. Most of the things AI in my area of expertise would be able to do, and I would need to do like a little bit at the end to clarify and provide more information. In 10 years, I think it would be fully comfortable of providing emotional intelligence, human signals, and we will have some behavioral dashboards, something like that. I think that AI will be able to read buyer intention very well and tell us what person is kind of thinking based on nonverbal signals, based on how they talk, what kind of personality types they are reading right there. And this will be somewhat intimidating for some people because not everyone wants to be read, right? Like an open book. So humans will be more aware and more eager to elevate their nonverbal signals so they are not read as an open book by AI. So I think one thing will lead to another. So those are my projections, but we will see what happens in reality.
We can only wait and see. I trust humans to always outsmart AI. So I do have an episode with an AI guru from America, your neck of the woods. His name is Mark Andrews. The title of that episode is Humans First, AI Next. Humans are always first, and AI is going to be an assistant. Wow. So the very last question from me before we get into the quick fire round is aimed towards helping our audience. So we do have an audience of entrepreneurs, professionals, leaders, and growth champions. So what are three simple nonverbal techniques they can start practicing today to improve their influence and close more deals?
Great question. Of course, there are so many, but if we focus on top three, I would say first is awareness and first impression. So we know that it's about 5-7 seconds when we can make a first impression. And this is important to master your entrance, whether it's on Zoom during team meeting or if it's somewhere in person, how you show up is very important. So start focusing on this first. Things that we discuss, posture, straight and pacing yourself. So this would be first one. The second one, if we don't know personality type of the person we communicating with, or if it's a huge audience and there are different personality type, we can just do mirroring. So we see what this person is doing and we can adjust. We can go slower or faster. We can be leaning more to the person or a little bit away, space that we keep between each other. So mirroring their behavior. If you are in a big room with many people, see that overall energy is. Maybe people are tired, right? Or maybe they're energetic and they're fresh, like in the mornings. We can adjust to those nuances. So this is I recommend to do second. And the last one is power positioning. I mentioned a little bit earlier. So time your gestures. Be mindful about your gestures. It's not everything, right? Mindful. What you mean to show? Are you like showing and confirming something that you are saying, or is it something just the noise? Don't make noise. I just did a gesture on my camera, and this actually means for camera it started operating on its own. So you see, this is AI in action. So I didn't think about it, but it's already reacted to my gesture. So those three things: master your entrance, strategic mirroring of the person or people in front of you, and your power positioning.
I think that's absolutely amazing. So there we go to the quick fire round. 5 questions, fun and insightful. Give the fastest answer that you can give. Are you ready to rumble?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so what's one body language myth you wish everyone would stop believing?
Yeah, so arm crossed is not always defensive or closeness. Someone can be just cold at the moment.
Wow, speaking of cold, London is beginning to get cold. So I might want to cross my arms. Okay, I like that. So number two, if you could teach one nonverbal skill to every CEO in the world, what would it be?
Presence, being present.
I like that. I think presence influences charisma. So I love that one. Coffee, tea, or something else when you need laser focus.
Green tea with jasmine is my favorite drink.
Wow, you're welcome to the tea culture. Number four, what's the most surprising signal a client has ever misread, and what was the outcome?
I guess I will use example I gave you when my client coach lost her ongoing client because of her misinterpretation of the nonverbal signals.
So, the last one is this. Complete this sentence. Success without presence is dash.
Short-term win. Short-term win.
Wow. Success without presence is a short-term win. Wow, that's absolutely spot on. So at this point, from me to you, it's a very, very big thank you. I always say this, gratitude is good attitude. And when a person shares their time with you, they share their life with you because the SI unit for measuring life this time. So from me to you, it's love and respect to you for sharing your life and your time with us on the King Dems podcast and Diary of the CFO today. Me to the audience, guys, don't forget, always go for something in your lives. Don't forget, conceive, believe, strive to thrive, and achieve.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, wow. AI. There you go.
And for your thoughtful questions, I was happy to share my knowledge and expertise. And please connect with me on LinkedIn or come and ask questions in private if you are interested. I will be happy to share more information. So very grateful to be here with you. I appreciate this opportunity. And please be aware of your nonverbal signals.
Absolutely. So I think I'm going to share your LinkedIn profile in the description. How about your website? What's the website? So we share that also in the description on the guest resources.
It's Tatiana Teppoeva.
Okay, fantastic. There you go. So for me, it's goodbye. And of course, from TT, it's goodbye. AI and TT, we are signing out right now. God bless you guys.